You don't even realize it at first. It's not like a movie. There's no dramatic music or sudden outburst that tells you this is abuse. Instead, it's quiet, subtle. It starts with little things, jokes that hurt, looks that make you doubt yourself, silences that punish more than words ever could. You convince yourself they didn't mean it, that maybe you're just too sensitive, that if you were more patient, more loving, more forgiving, it would stop. This is how the cycle begins, not with violence, but with confusion. The very person who is hurting you is also the one you're turning to for comfort. And in that contradiction, you begin to lose clarity. You start to question your instincts. You doubt your memories. You shrink. This is emotional abuse. And the reason it's so hard to leave is because it rewires how you see yourself. You stop believing in your own reality. And once you lose that, you're no longer trapped by their behavior. You're trapped by your own mind. But how did it get this far? Why do people stay even when they know something's wrong? Stay with me. In the next part, we'll explore the manipulation tactics that keep you emotionally addicted, even to someone who's destroying you.
Here's what no one tells you. Emotional abuse doesn't hurt all the time. In fact, some of the most addictive relationships are the ones that occasionally feel amazing. They're moments of tenderness, apologies that sound sincere, promises that seem real. And after the pain comes the warmth, the relief, the reconnection. It's not love. It's a cycle of reward and punishment. And psychologically, it's no different from addiction. Your brain starts to chase the highs, the moments when things feel okay again, when they smile at you like they used to, when, just for a second, you believe the worst is over. But the lows keep getting worse. And here's the trap. The worse they treat you, the more desperate you become for their approval. You don't just want love. You want proof that you're still worth loving. So you try harder. You give more. You apologize even when you're the one hurting. And every time they give you a crumb of affection, it feels like a feast. This is how emotional dependency is built. And it's why people stay. Because when love becomes unpredictable, it becomes powerful. Not because it's deep, but because it's rare. And in its rarity, you become willing to suffer for it. In Part 3, we'll explore the most dangerous weapon of emotional abusers, gaslighting, and how it makes you doubt everything, including your own pain. Shall we continue?
Imagine being in pain and being told it's all in your head. Imagine crying and hearing you're overreacting. Imagine pointing out something cruel and being told that never happened. That's not a misunderstanding, that's gaslighting, and it's one of the most devastating tools in emotional abuse. Because it doesn't just confuse you, it erodes the foundation of who you are. Gaslighting makes you question your memory, your emotions, your logic. You start thinking, maybe I really am too sensitive. Maybe I took it the wrong way. Maybe I'm the toxic one. And when you reach that point, when you can't even trust your own thoughts, they no longer need to control you. You control yourself. You silence your instincts. You suppress your emotions. You edit yourself before you speak. And worst of all, you start to rely on the abuser for clarity. You seek their version of the truth because yours feels broken. This is how emotional abuse becomes self-sustaining. And if you're wondering why this is so powerful, it's because gaslighting doesn't just attack your perception, it attacks your identity. In Part 4, we'll go deeper. Why you feel guilty for thinking about leaving, and how emotional abusers use your empathy against you. Also, If this content is helping you reflect, don't forget to subscribe to Slow Psychology. Sometimes the first step to healing is hearing the truth said out loud. Ready for the next part?
You're not weak. You're not blind. And yet, you still feel guilty for even thinking about leaving. Why? Because you're a deeply empathetic person, and they know that. Abusers don't just manipulate your mind, they manipulate your kindness. They cry when you finally stand up for yourself. They bring up their childhood trauma when you say you're hurt. They say, "I know I'm damaged, but you're the only one who understands me." And suddenly, you're not angry anymore. You feel sorry for them. They flip the roles. Now you're the caretaker, the healer, the savior. And in trying to save them, you abandon yourself. This is what makes emotional abuse so cruel. It doesn't just hurt you, it recruits your compassion to keep you trapped. You tell yourself, they didn't mean it. They're just struggling. They need love, not rejection. But here's the truth. They're not changing. They're just making you feel responsible for their behavior. Empathy is beautiful, but empathy without boundaries is self-betrayal. In Part 5, we'll talk about how your childhood may have conditioned you to tolerate emotional abuse and why it feels familiar, even when it's destroying you. Shall we keep going?
Sometimes, the most dangerous part of emotional abuse is that it doesn't feel new. It feels familiar. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, where affection came with conditions, where silence was punishment, where your emotions were too much, then your nervous system learned something early. Love is unstable, and safety is earned. So when someone makes you feel small, anxious, or invisible, a part of you doesn't run away. It leans in. Not because you like the pain, but because it mirrors what you once called love. Your brain mistakes familiarity for safety. It's not that you're choosing the wrong people. It's that your past programmed you to feel comfortable with chaos. And that's not your fault. But this is why so many people stay in emotionally abusive relationships. Not because they're naive, but because they were never taught what healthy love feels like. So they normalize mistreatment. They try to earn affection. They believe that love always comes with pain. And until that belief is questioned, the cycle continues. In Part 6, we'll explore what a healthy relationship actually feels like and why it might feel boring or even wrong to someone who's only known survival mode. Ready? Here's something no one tells you. After emotional abuse, a healthy relationship can feel wrong. Not because it is, but because it doesn't match your nervous system's idea of love. You're used to tension, to guessing what mood they're in, to earning affection, walking on eggshells, decoding silences. So when someone shows up with consistency, kindness, and calm, you feel restless. You wonder, why don't I feel the same intensity? Where's the passion, the fire? But what you're really missing is the drama. Your brain became addicted to the emotional roller coaster, so stability feels foreign, safety feels boring, and love without pain feels suspicious. This is the aftershock of abuse. You learn to mistake adrenaline for connection. You learn to confuse anxiety with chemistry. You learn that love is something you survive, not something that heals. But real love doesn't create chaos. It creates space. Space to breathe, to feel, to be yourself without fear. So if you've met someone kind and it feels off, don't run. Get curious.
Sometimes peace feels unnatural when all you've known is war. In Part 7, we'll explore the inner war, how emotional abuse changes your self-worth and makes you feel unworthy of the love you truly crave. Shall we move on?
One of the most painful effects of emotional abuse isn't just what happens to you, it's what you start to believe about yourself. You stop seeing yourself as lovable. You start seeing yourself as lucky to be tolerated. And when someone mistreats you, you don't ask, why are they doing this? You ask, what's wrong with me? That's how deep the damage goes. Abuse makes you internalize rejection. Instead of recognizing cruelty, you blame your own flaws. You tell yourself you're too emotional, too clingy, too hard to love. But you weren't too much. You were just with someone who gave you too little and made you feel responsible for it. And the worst part? You start to filter your entire identity through their behavior. If they withdraw, you assume you're a burden. If they lash out, you assume you provoked it. If they leave, you assume you're unlovable. This is how abuse changes you. Not just how you feel, but who you think you are. So even when you finally leave, you carry their voice in your head. In Part 8, we'll talk about the silent grief that follows emotional abuse and why healing can feel more painful than staying. Ready to continue?
Leaving an emotionally abusive relationship should feel like freedom, right? But instead, it often feels like grief. Not just grief for the person you lost, but grief for the version of you that kept hoping. You grieve the time you spent trying to fix something that was never yours to fix. You grieve the moments of tenderness that felt real, even if they were followed by cruelty. You grieve the idea of what the relationship could have been if only they had changed. And underneath all that, there's a deeper pain. The realization that you were never truly seen, only used, controlled, silenced. That hurts more than most people will ever understand. Because abuse doesn't end the moment you leave. It echoes. In your doubts, in your guilt, in your moments of loneliness where you wonder if maybe, just maybe, it was still better than being alone. This is the quiet part of healing. It's not glamorous, it's not fast, but it's real. And if you're feeling this grief, you're not weak. You're finally telling the truth to yourself after being lied to for far too long. In Part 9, we'll talk about how to rebuild trust in yourself and what it actually means to feel safe again from the inside out. Shall we go on?
After abuse, the hardest person to trust is often yourself. Your own thoughts, feelings, and instincts feel like strangers. You second-guess every decision. You wonder if you're overreacting or being too sensitive because those voices once told you so. But healing begins when you start reclaiming your inner voice. Start small. Notice your feelings without judgment. Say out loud what you need and want. Practice setting boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable. Remember, your feelings are valid. Your experience is real. Your needs matter. Trust grows when you consistently honor yourself, even in tiny ways. And with time, you'll notice something powerful. The more you listen to yourself, the less you depend on others' approval. That's freedom. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to choose yourself anyway. In the final part, Part 10, we'll discuss how to break the cycle forever, how to move forward and create a new story for your life. Ready for the last step?
You are not doomed to repeat the cycle. You are not defined by the abuse you endured. Breaking free means more than leaving the person. It means rewriting the story you tell yourself about love, worth, and safety. It means learning to recognize healthy boundaries, to demand respect, and to nurture the part of you that was silenced for too long. This journey isn't easy. There will be days when doubt creeps back in, when the old patterns try to pull you under. But every step you take toward healing is a victory. Every time you choose yourself over fear, you reclaim power. You deserve relationships where love feels steady, not like a battlefield, where you feel safe, not small, where you are seen, not erased. This is your path to freedom, and it begins now. Thank you for listening. If this video helped you understand your experience, please subscribe to Slow Psychology, because healing starts when we finally hear the truth.